everyone. We know everyone on the panel, so I will go into the topic right away. Someone said that the most sustainable garment is the one in your wardrobe. But reality says that we have to make clothes, we have to wear them, and to do that we end up buying. How does this business of making, buying, wearing, and then possibly throwing happen? Just a quick figure. I know that Aloke is also going to throw a lot of figures at us later. But in India, more than 1 million tons of textiles are thrown away every year. And these textiles make up about 3% by weight of a household bin. Textile waste is also the third largest source of municipal solid waste in India. So waste is something I've always been interested in, and if so much of what we like wearing and love buying ends up in the bin, then why are we making and buying in the first place? So to answer these questions this evening, I think we have these very eminent panelists. So maybe I'll start with Aloke, and then would you like to take us through your presentation, and then maybe I'll have some questions for you.
Hi, good evening everyone. First of all, thank you so much Anjumbi and Paramita and all the esteemed panelists and the extremely beautiful audience for giving us this platform to discuss what is fast fashion and the toxicity of the fashion industry. Now this is one thing which is really sometimes can be hard-hitting. But yes, when we started, I think back in 2014, nobody knew about sustainability or sustainable fashion. There was sustainable education. People used to come and ask us that, I want to be a fashion designer, I want to learn fashion designing, but what is sustainable fashion? So we were the first in India to start a design school on sustainability and a fashion brand which shows students that sustainable fashion can also be fashionable, because they thought that it's not fashionable, it's old, it's khadi only, but not very, like, youngster cannot wear it. And I think that is the mentality which these fast fashion companies exploited for their own benefit, and pulling out this trend. They are the one who dictates, like, this season yellow, that season purple, that season black, that season red. I don't know how many color shades of color they will invent to make us continuously buy. So we are really being exploited. So cut to 2020 to 2023, we no longer can avoid toxicity or fashion industry or fast fashion or the effect it has on environment. We are very fortunate that we are sitting and discussing these ideas and in a beautiful space. But there is this place also, Joshimath, which is completely sinking, and the residents there are they don't know what the future lies, So we as human beings have become so stupid that we want to go to Mars, but we don't want to save our planet Earth, And a lot of people doesn't know that fashion is fashionable, but it also impacts Earth in a really, really horrible way. So I'll be showing you a PPT, and then I'll show you a video. So there's a lot of facts there. So can we start with the PPT first? Short trouser with organic fabrics and complete dye with turmeric, haldi. And I think I look fashionable.
And I'm wearing a sari that's 23 years old, and I think it will do.
So our school is called ESEDS, Educator School of Ethical Design Studies, started by designers. So two of my partners and founders are British, one from Manchester, one from Wales. And so three of us started the school. Can we go to the next one? So welcome to the world of fast fashion. I think all of you know what is fast fashion now, So welcome to this world of fast fashion, but also toxicity. So So we start with one line, which is, there is no beauty in the finest cloth if it makes hunger and unhappiness. Very important quote by Gandhi. So we all are wearing beautiful clothes which is really made very fast. But look at the workers, the way it's produced. So I think sometimes these visuals are so hard hitting that if you can understand the visuals, it will be difficult for you to really buy something which is very, very cheap. The second one. So some interesting facts to start with. The drop in garment prices over the last 20 years has allowed us to buy more and more. What lucky we are buying very cheap clothes. The price has dropped, but somewhere somebody is paying the price. We have now 5 times more clothes than our grandparents. When I was very young, of course, I'm young now also, but when I was very, very young, we used to buy once in a year during the pujas, the festivities, and we used to show to all the neighbors our clothes and all, and we used to wait for that during that puja, 5 days and all. Right now, I think everybody buys every day. You go to street and every time it seems like people are just buying. We were all caged during the COVID times, but now, hey, human beings, we all are back to again the same thing: buy. Fast fashion, fast changing fashion trend and low price. That is what is fast fashion. The trends constantly changes fast and the pricing is low. 20 pieces of clothing per person manufactured per year. Just imagine the billion people on the earth. And there are very fast fashion, make cheap clothing, increased production, innovative production, distribution model. Of course, it's innovative. Look at Zara, what they do. They compel you to go to the store and buy. So it's, of course, it's innovation because that's where the business model lies. And the number of fashion season has increased. Initially, it was only autumn, winter, and spring, summer. Right now, God knows how many. It's 50, 52, and it will go on increasing. The next one. So you can see the chemicals which are there in our clothing. So 25% of global chemical output originates from the textile industry. In fact, fashion or textile is one of the most polluting industry in the world right now, after oil. Again, you can see 2 cycles per year and then 50 cycles right now, season after season. All our favorite brands, Zara, H&M, Mango, Uniqlo. There was a disaster in 2013 Rana Plaza where more than 1,000 people got killed, and people were making clothes. They were making clothes of United Colors of Benetton, and Benetton said that hey, they are not our employees. We just outsource from them. So they die. Whatever is not our responsibility. So that was the cruel fact of the fashion industry. And you can all see certain facts. 80 billion garments produced each year. We produce 400% more clothes than 20 years ago. No wonder we are looking to go to Mars. On average, we only wear garments 7 times before getting it. I know people who just wears once or who never wears the garment. They just buys the garment. The environmental impact. We have to act now. Can we go to the next one? Water pollution. People don't know, but fashion industry creates the humongous water pollution. With 200,000 tons of dyes every year, 20% of industrial water pollution. So just imagine what kind of world we are living for our children or grandchildren. And 22,000 liters of toxic waste. Next one. Water consumption, very important. There are still areas where drinking water is a luxury. Travel to Africa and you will know certain parts, but look at the kind of data which is there. The next. Microfibers in ocean. So this is very interesting because we don't know that sometimes, it can also land into our stomach, what we are eating. Because there are certain tiny fibers which goes into ocean, goes into fish, and as we are in Bengal and Calcutta, we love our fish, paturi and machevat and jol and that fish we are eating has that fibers in them. So it's actually going into your body. Waste accumulation, I think we all can see this kind of pictures in the city itself, the kind of waste we generate. The next one, chemical addiction. Cotton production uses 24% of insecticides and 11% of pesticides. And we all are wearing fabrics which has that pesticides in it, which affects our health as well. Carcinogenic factors. Greenhouse gas emission: 70 million oil barrels are used every year to produce polyester fabric. 400% more carbon emission are produced if you wear a garment 5 times instead of 50 times. Can we go to the next one? Soils degradation and desertification. We all have seen this kind of visuals and it's nothing new. This is actually happening. Can we go to the next one? Rainforest destruction. So this is again very interesting. 70 million trees are cut down every year to make our clothes. 30% of rayon and viscose clothing comes from endangered and ancient forests. And 5% of the global apparel industry uses forest-based fabrics. Can you go next one? So how to sport a fast fashion? I think this is for when we teach to the student. I don't need to tell you guys, you all know what is fast fashion, how you can go to any shopping mall. I was coming from West Side and I see huge banner, 50% discount. Good news, if you are a member, you get more. So very happy. But again, somebody is paying the price. She was one of our champions of sustainability and fast fashion, the late Vivienne Westwood, who says, buy less, choose well and make it last. We should buy less, we should always choose an eco-friendly fabric because skin is our biggest pores on the body and we are wearing a fabric which is directly in touch with our skin. And we should make it last, even if it is ripped. Sometimes people throw away, but ripped denims, people are paying more to buy that fatawa denim. So sometimes even if it is ripped, mend it and you can use it. So that's the last part, which is, please remember, every time you are buying fast fashion or cheap clothing, you are not, but somewhere, somebody is paying the price. So that you always have to understand. And I'm not telling that suddenly we will all become switch off to, but I think we can all try. I'm also trying. I'm not telling that I'm 100% kind of thing. I have really tried over the years and cut down my fabrics or cut down my purchases and all. So we can all try. The first step we have to take, and then you will see slowly it is a big movement. And we have a small video to show, and then.
We communicate who we are through clothing. It is fundamentally a part of what we wish to communicate about ourselves. We used to have a system, a fashion system, that has absolutely nothing to do with the fashion industry today. It has been reinvented.
It's based on materialism. The problem is that comes at a really high price.
Collapsed, killing more than 1,000.
Clashes between clothes factory workers and riot police in Cambodia.
Last November, 112 people were killed in another major factory fire. 30,000 factory workers were killed.
Garment workers in Bangladesh feeling the price of purchasing clothing.
Well, the promise of globalization was that it was going to be a win-win. Consumers in the rich world would get cheaper goods and people in the poorer parts of the world would get jobs, and that those jobs would give them an opportunity to work their way out of poverty.
This enormous, rapacious industry that is generating so much profit, why is it that it is unable to support millions of its workers properly?
The actual business model is completely unsustainable. Unless you change that model, you can't change anything.
When everything is concentrated on making profits, what you see is that human rights, the environment, workers' rights get lost.
My God, we can do better than this.
underwear is a basic necessity for everyday clothing, right? We wear underwear every day. However, for women, the underwear...
Thank you, Aloke, for those very hard-hitting facts. But the problem remains that we've known all this for, I think, the last 10 years. And I think we've been having these conversations at least for the last 10 years. But I don't think we've moved ahead much. I'll come back to you with more questions, but I just want to move on to Preeta. I think one of the large problems that leads to fast fashion is also the problem of access. You know, who has access to what? And we often buy more of what is easily accessible and easily available. You know, it is that while a plastic toothbrush is everywhere, to buy a bamboo toothbrush, you have to go to a particular site and search for it. It is not available everywhere, so you don't buy it. I think things that are easily available and are everywhere around us are visible, and therefore we feel that we need them. So in your business, I think this access to intimate wear that is A, organic, B, that does not create waste. And then third, after we finish using it, what do we do with it? It's a large question that at least I don't have answers to. So maybe you can speak a little about what is your equal and how have you solved these problems?
Do we play the video before, or maybe first
Maybe you can speak a little.
Yes, I will. Then we'll go on to the video. So basically, I mean, wonderfully said, and all the numbers and everything, all the points that you mentioned, in your speech, that was really something that we have been talking about for a very long time. So, what is fashion per se? Fashion is, somewhere a big designer is creating a collection, and then there is a fashion week, and there are other designers in different streetwear brands who are taking some inspirations from the big designers, and then they are creating mass-friendly commercial garments which are based out of those designs. And then what happens? Then they make those designs and they outsource the manufacturing to countries like India, Vietnam, Turkey, Bangladesh. So they outsource that manufacturing, and all that manufacturing happens here in India and under very, very tense timelines, and the level of quality that is to be maintained to pertain to that design per se is so high that there is a lot of wastage in this whole process. So that's where it all actually started. Actually, it didn't start there. Where it started from, we will see in the video. But because Paramita has asked this question, so I'll start from the factories which make all these spectacular designs that you see. So there's a lot of wastage in maintaining that quality level, and there's a lot of rejection. And because there are so many seasons nowadays, there are also a lot of fabrics that are just left behind. They're not touched again because that color for that season is over. So what do we do with the fabrics, right? So that's why factories like my family has a garment manufacturing unit, and I can see so many rolls and rolls of fabric lying on one of the floors. And ours is still a smaller unit. I mean, there are bigger units here in Calcutta, I'm sure all of you must be knowing about. They have warehouses full of these dead stock fabrics, and these are premium fabrics. When you touch them, you'll see that they are silky smooth, and maybe these products made of these fabrics are not even available here in India, at least in the commercial markets. So what are we doing about those fabrics? And why don't we, as the manufacturing nation, why don't we have access to these premium quality fabrics? So these were the questions that came into my mind when I had newly entered the family business I'm not from Calcutta, that's why when you wrote that, I haven't heard about Preeta, I was like, yeah, I'm a newbie here. I'm from Delhi. But 4 years ago when I joined the family business, and I was astounded to see the amount of wastage that there was, and the quality of fabric was so good. So I decided, let's make a brand and let's make this fabric and this stitch available and accessible to us, to Indians. And we created this brand, and we marketed it, and we got very good reviews. And we thought, what should be the USP of our brand? Definitely the fabric is certified organic. Our factories go through a number of audits to test, to qualify as a proper organic fabric. All the chemicals that you listed there, phthalates and azodyes and everything, our fabric is tested for all those materials. We need to get a certain AQL level so that we are able to cross that. So everything is well tested. So we thought, okay, we are organic. Are we zero waste? Initially we thought we are zero waste. Then we realized, no, we are not zero waste. We are not zero waste. We are upcycled, definitely. We are upcyclers, we are upcycling the desktop fabric, but we can't call ourselves zero waste. Because, first of all, I'm using end of rolls at the moment. I am also using, smaller rejected cut pieces and everything, and I'm using them to make underwear. We have also started making loungewear now. But there were smaller pieces of fabrics which we did not know what to do about. Then there is also those side shreds, cuttings, which we don't know what to do about. There are tons and tons of these, if you go to a factory, you'll understand the kinds of textile waste that there is, and how we have to manage. It's a pain to manage this waste. So we are not zero waste. And the most important reason why we are not zero waste is because the life cycle of the underwear is something that you cannot pass it down. You can't pass it down. You can wear a very old 23-year-old sari, but you can't pass down your underwear because of hygienic reasons. So those are the questions, those are the challenges that we're still dealing with. But the good news is that there are already solutions that are there in the international market. So because I own an underwear brand, I'm doing research all the time. What's new? What's the new thing that's happening? When I launched the underwear, my own underwear brand, there was a boom in the international market for underwear. That's how our factory, got the machines to start making underwear. But then nowadays, I switch on my phone and I see new underwear brands. And at that time, I was only tailored in circus. Now there are so many brands, and all of them are saying that they are sustainable. So anyhow, I think the only way that an underwear can be truly zero waste is if we do a program to take it back. That's what an underwear brand called Nikki is doing. Yes, it's doing it. They are the only brand which takes back the underwear, and then they recycle and upcycle it and
they're in the UK, right?
Yes, I think they're based out of UK. And if we can do something like that here in India, that would be a real innovation. And I saw in your video that your students are doing material innovation, and that is something that we can really work on, because we need designers who are looking at it from the waste perspective. So you need to make something with that. They are making something, then why can't we?
Should we watch your video? Yeah, maybe let's watch it and then
Yes.
Underwear is a basic necessity. It's a basic necessity for everyday clothing, right? We wear underwear every day. However, for women, the underwear is even more important because we use them during our menstrual cycles to wear pads. Now what happens in rural areas is that the rural women and girls, they don't have access to underwear or pads. So they don't have the practice of wearing the underwear every day, because of which during the 5 days of the menstrual cycles, they look for unsafe alternatives like rag, ash and other unhygienic materials. I started Wear Eat Well with the mission of bringing underwear to these rural women and girls who are situated mostly in the remote parts of the country. I started the commercial underwear brand to be sold here in the cities, and whatever profits we make, a part of that is used to cross-subsidize and provide underwear to these women in the rural areas. It all started when I discovered the solution in my family's garment manufacturing unit. I saw piles of premium organic cotton fabrics being wasted after large-scale production and decided to use them for starting a brand.
So we draw our inspiration primarily from nature, from objects we see in our day-to-day life, and we try to keep the underwear prints as fun and as quirky as possible.
Underwear as a garment requires the least amount of fabric consumption to be made, which is why and how we could get into a model of upcycling and source our fabrics from the dead stock and surplus materials of the export houses situated in Kolkata. Once we source our fabrics, we then design our collection and we put our signature prints on the underwears that are screen printed using God-certified organic colors, where Eat Well therefore stands out and is a statement piece in itself. We are known for our quirky prints, for our soft organic cotton fabric feel, and for our inclusive designs. We have a tie-up with an NGO called Project 3. Project 3 helps us to distribute the low-cost underwears in rural parts of India, and they also hold workshops with adults and girls on menstrual hygiene. So far, we have been able to support 1,800 adults and girls in rural India, saved 1.5 tons of fabric waste, and sustained a group of 35 female factory workers.
Oh, that's really fabulous. I think where you finished was the group of factory workers as well. I would like to start for Amitra, also somebody whose work I've known for a long time. And I think we would love to know more about how you engage with the community, because you work closely with rural women entrepreneurs, and I see a lot changing on those fronts. So how does that movement with the rural women make things maybe a little better for our industry?
Yeah, hi. Thank you everyone for having me here. Thank you Anjumdi, Shantadi, and all my friends and people, my collaborators and colleagues and comrades who are all into sustainable. Before that, I want to I don't have a presentation. I just came from something. Yeah, so I couldn't do much. But before we go into this subject of sustainable, we need to understand what is the term sustainable means, as and large. Because once we understand that, then it's easy for us, for everybody, to kind of get aligned with it. So sustainable, in a word, we can say it's a process of human development where the nature also develops. Also, you protect and enable the nature to develop along the human development. That is called sustainable. So now, usually when we say sustainability, we always try and question. When you're saying why this, why that, why fast fashion, why slow fashion. So I think, let's not talk why, let's talk what. When you start talking what, you start asking questions within yourself. What to buy? What is this material made of? What is the story behind it? And it doesn't go for people like us, it goes for people like in the weavers, in the community. They should also understand what are we weaving, because it is not happening in the fashion front. It's also happening in the rural level. Chinese yarns are coming in, it's flooding the market, which we think it's a good sari, but it's not a good sari. It's made out of certain yarns, which is not impactful for the environment. So I think the question we try and understand, make ourselves first, what should we buy? What is it made out of? Then we start understanding the word sustainability. And it is not that we can turn the wheel in one day. So we have to educate our children, we have to tell our friends, what are you buying? Don't say why are you buying, because when you say why, it hurts ego. But when you say what are you buying, you're making a person to think what he or she is buying. So I think that's how I tell myself, I tell my kid, I tell my friends, what are you buying? I think is a very important question. Now, as you said, how rural empowerment. I'm not going to talk about myself. I'm going to talk about some friends who are doing amazing work. There's this lady called Margaret Zizou, who is in Nagaland. She works with a community called Nakla, and they are making nettle. And there's another fabric called Orange Ria plant. And there's a only community who are making yarns and dresses. It's a tribal dress and Thai real dresses. She's doing amazing work out there in a very small design studio. She has won some awards, but the work she's doing it's impacting the nature, it's impacting the livelihood of the people, it's creating, it's holding the hands. The community is with him. I think that is sustainable. There's a friend of mine who's working in South Metaphor Ravi. They are doing brown cotton candy. It's not that they're big, they're small, but the brown cotton revolution has started. So they're making saris, dresses, everything locally made, sustainable. The villages are getting work. Everybody's kind of hand-holding together. And it's a very small effort, but it's an impactful effort. Sustainability doesn't mean you have to do only one way of doing garments. There's this doctor, very senior doctor, George and Lalita Rekhi, who in 1990 went to this village called, in Tamil Nadu called, I can't remember, I'll tell you the name. And then they started a hospital. And from that hospital, they found that there is no work. So how will the hospital run? So they started giving Lombardy women's work. And that's how Porgai started. And they are Porgai embroideries. And the whole village has become a community. So that's the story of sustainability. Then there is Somya Kala Mandir. It's in Gujarat. They are allowing students to understand and think in various ways how creatively you can create sustainability. How through design, how through modern techniques you can bring sustainability. I think that is, as a whole, I think is the success of sustainability. When very individual people, like all of us, taking a small stick and questioning, like she's questioning herself, he's questioning himself, I'm questioning myself. And I think that is the beauty of sustainability. When we start questioning what are we using, what are we giving to our buyers, and I think that is how things very slowly will move on. Now, for a person who wears a sari, people usually think it's a sustainable fabric, but if it's handmade and it's made in khadi, you will be amazed to know there are 14 different skill sets that is involved. From spinning the yarn to the end of the sari. So when you buy a handloom sari, if you see a certain price, you might think that price is a lot, but it actually is paying 14 individual people, and you're saving 14 individual lives. So I think that is a story of sustainability. Even when you buy certain food from local market, when you're buying a khajur from a local market, you are not only helping that person, but that's the way of sustainability. So I think that's my point of view, that we should start asking what are you buying? What is this? Why is this is the next question? But I think that's how we should approach it.
Thank you for that, Amitra. I think the question also remains of scale, because in a smaller setup, a lot of things probably can be run sustainably. But as soon as you hit scale, like a Zara, you might need 52 fashion seasons, and you might need to outsource, and you might need to shore, source, and all of that. So it's also how much business do we want to do. So in this whole age of more and much more than what we probably need, how do all of you as designers and business owners balance this out of how much should we ask our consumers to buy? Because at the same time we are saying that we're overbuying and we're over-consuming, and at the same time you also have to sell to keep your businesses going. So how do you share this kind of ethos with your students? How do you pass this balance on at EcoAbit?
Like what Paramita said, very important how much we want to make. That's the basic question, that what is profit? Profit is something where you pay your karigars, people working for you, the entire chain who is making the garment, okay, and you keep certain percentage for yourself. Now, what is that percentage? It all depends on that. So that was what we at MICRONESIUM, or fashion brand, was very clear from day one, that we don't want to become humongous suddenly, and tell people, okay, be sustainable, but now buy not one dress but 5 dresses. But from us or sustainable thing, but again, it's again making them buy more. So we were telling that no, buy less, pay more, because by paying more, you are again, like how Amitra said, that you are actually supporting the entire chain of people and families who are there, And same ethos we tell to the student, that when you are starting your own label or a company as a young entrepreneur or a fashion designer, start small and also have that impact, and be very clear that what is the profit you want to make. Like if you think of, suddenly I want to make millions, then hey, hello, where is the sustainability happening? Because you are also again producing it big. Now I'll give you one example of I can't name, but there is a brand and a very close friend of mine, and she started very small with upcycling, with export waste fabric. So she used to go to the market, get the export waste fabric, and she used to design collection. And I was like, wow, that is fabulous, thing. And we used to do exhibitions together. So we used to, like when MICRONESIUM used to do exhibition, we used to bring 50 pieces, that kind of thing. Now I saw the brand is bringing 250 to 400 to 500 pieces of clothing, and they just want to sell. Now I was telling that, okay, you are upcycling, you are using exposed waste fabric, but again you are mass producing it. Now what you are doing is you are actually creating an alternate economy for an export company. Now they are seeing that the more I have waste, I can sell to these designers, they will buy it, and then they are selling it. So where is it going to end? The question is the greed. How much money you want to make? So the entire question lies that we were offered to make 100 pieces, 150 pieces, and we had buyers who were telling that, okay, we will pay. It's not on consignment. It is by paying, we will pay and we will take the stock. But we were telling that we don't want to do that. First of all, we work with organic fabrics. Now suddenly, organic fabrics takes times to make. The fabric, getting that fabric production, everything. So suddenly from 50 pieces, I can't make 150 pieces in a year, because then again I'm going into that direction of mass production. And then the second psychology for them will be, now you are producing 150 pieces. So if you are selling 50 pieces per dress for 8,500, 150, give me at 4,000 rupees. This is a clever technique. It's the manipulation. You know, so that's what we said to the students, that look, they will always be shark. I call them shark. You know, I call them shark because they're and huge shark with huge belly. They just want to make more money. They will come in form of investor, in form of partner, in form of collaborators, in form of friend, in form of anybody, and tell that, okay, good business model, 50 pieces, let's make 150 pieces. Sell less, sell more, and at lesser price. You know, it's very, very tempting, to be very honest. It's really tempting for a young entrepreneur, or designer, or a young graduate, you know, to do that, you know. But that is where the fashion ethics comes into play, and the responsibility, you know. So the basic question remains the same, you know, that tackling this issue is be very clear how much we want to make, you know. I'll tell you another thing and then I can pass, you know. Even during the COVID times, it was really a very hard-hitting visual for me. I knew somebody, multi-billionaire, huge money kind of thing. Sadly, his mother passed away, you know, and I was there, you know, paying respect and all. She was just on a floor, not even on the very expensive flat car and all. She was just on the floor on one piece of that white fabric and all. That's the truth. That's the truth of the life. That how much money you want to make, that ultimately you will go in that one plain white cotton. Even if you are a multi-millionaire or billionaire, and trust me, I had discussions with even billionaires, you know, and I know there's one guy who said to me, let's make it big, let's make it this, that and everything, you know, and you'll be working hard and you'll be so tense. I had 2 heart transplants and he was very proud of me. I don't want that kind of life. I'm very happy with less money and happy, you know. So this is the same thing, you know, where I think we should ask all these big companies and fast fashion companies and all, that when is the greed going to end? How much money, you know, Zara, H&M, and by the way, everybody is sustainable to it today. If you go to any brand, they will tell they are sustainable, you know. So I think you need to know what is and then ask questions, you know, and then you might know, you know, because that is what even happened with me in one exhibition, Bombay. I was selling, I was the only brand who is always sustainable and all, and there's a lady just opposite me, and she was selling for 1,000 rupees, 1,500. She came and she was like, Aloke, what is sustainable, how do we do it and all, and I'm an educationist, I'm not like some typical fashion designers who doesn't want to share, they're very scared, they don't want to share. Now I explained everything and she went and she said the same thing word by word to people, and people were not buying from me, they were buying from her because she was selling sustainable top in the second half. First half she was just like a fast fashion, second half she was a sustainable brand selling a dress or top for 1,500, and here I am with small collection and selling for 8,500, and then the consumer will be like, no, let me go and buy, but they don't ask, maybe they are not aware or they are not even want to, you know. So I think we are very clear with our students, you know, that yes, be focused and clear your goals and set your goals and have that clear idea in your mind that how much profit you want to make. You know, I had worked with some of the biggest designers in India, 600% profit margin, 2010. I was doing the costing. I can't name, but when I was working with and I was always a curious child. So I used to go to the merchandising section and sit with the merchandiser and also help her in costing. So all the costing done, and then they're like, Aloke, just 600% add, that is the final cost. So that's the truth, you know. So yeah, that's.
Thank you, Aloke. So as we heard, sustainability is expensive, and most people think that very pretty white dress with jamdani print on it is always at least 8,000 bucks, and that's huge for most people. And people will still prefer to buy, I think, in 1,500 2000 segment. So how do we now work with this problem? Because this reverse economics is something that we have to think about. Because still, sustainability and economics add up. We cannot influence the policy makers to help us, which is why we constantly have these same goal conversations. And they don't move anywhere because policy level, nothing changes. So,
yeah, so first, Paramita, I don't agree that sustainability is expensive. It is not expensive.
Okay.
It is again, we don't have the access.
Exactly.
We don't have the access of what is sustainable. Because see, most of the people who are doing sustainable work are like the karigars here. Supposing somebody is doing a shoulder work. And that is being brought here by somebody, some entrepreneur or some businessman, and he's selling it from an X amount.
Yes.
But if we have the source to go to the direct, to the person who's making it, it is not expensive. So it is not expensive, it is that we don't have the opportunity or we don't have the route or access to get that, number one. Number two, making money is not bad. If you're not hurting anybody and people are willing to pay that money for sustainability and which is going to help others, I don't think making money is bad. Because ultimately, you're saving a lot of life. You are helping a community, you are taking the brunt, you are taking the load of, you are taking the tension of having this community, they have trust on you. For her factory to run, there are times when there are no sales, there are times when she's making the sales. So making money, I don't think is bad, but what is the money again? What is the money? Where is it going? So that is an important question. So as long we talk more, we talk to people, we make people understand. When we buy, not the price, try and understand the story behind the price. I think when we start, like your performances are so immaculate, they touch your soul. You don't have to tell the story. But I think the product should talk about it. The design should talk about it. The design should, in sustainable, when you talk about sustainable, it's mostly hand-done. So you can play with it. You can stop in certain areas and you can do certain things in which in mass production you can't do. For her case, it's something different. But then she can. But then there are other ways of doing it. But most of the time when we talk about handcrafted, handmade, you can play with that, and that's your mastery. So we have to make our makers believe in them, that you are the master, you play the game, let them follow. Let the fast fashion follow you, you play the game. So unless we make smaller enterprises, unless and unless we put faith on them, unless and unless we have faith on them and trust them, take them to various exhibitions, take them to places where I think here a lot of people have come, they're seeing, they are exposed to the world, they are seeing a lot of things, their mind is working. So I think that is how you're creating a sustainable livelihood. That is how they are going to become sustainable, because they are trusting you. Okay, I've come to a place where I can show my things, I can sell my things. Before that I was sitting in a village, in a small hut, doing certain things where nobody used to come. Okay, now I've got a license to sell. So that commentary, that confidence have to be built. And once that's built, I think this small stake will, it's not that in one day we're going to kind of change everything. There are other things that I've just learned from an American friend that came. He said that by 2024 there is a tag that is coming up by WTO, which is called green tag, which every brand has to have if you have to export to Europe. I yet to find out whether it's right or wrong, but each tag will have complete information from the sourcing of cotton to the making. What is the carbon footprint? How is it impacting the nature? And that is something that's going to come. If something like that is going to come, people are going to be champion. We're going to be the winner. We're going to be on the forefront. So I think there are challenges, but there are positive sides also in sustainability. I'll just tell you a small story because I do a lot of research and documentation, and this is a very small story. There is a fabric called muslin, we all know. And when it started, we were all Indians and it's a big country that we were producing. 500 years ago, when we started doing very fine counts, 200, 300 counts, we didn't know Jamdani. So when the Muslim came to India and they taught us Jamdani, there was a scare part. Oh, we're going to lose the technique. Jamdani is going to take over. But we kind of held together and that's how Jamdani started. Next, our fabric was becoming so popular, the Britishers tried imposing their Manchester threads. And then there was a grievance here in Kolkata. Governor General called, made a grievance cell, and weavers came and they were said this is happening. And then there was a restriction made that so this kind of threads cannot be sold to the weavers. And then another revolution happened, and 1850 we started having jacquard looms. So that I'm trying to say every point there is where there is a trouble, we somehow humans find out a way of moving ahead. So if today everybody is talking about sustainable, there are people, as you said, who doesn't understand sustainable or selling sustainable, but that's good for us because he's somehow educating other people, and that people eventually is going to find out that he's a cheater, he or she is a cheater, to come to you. So I think that's more we talk about, more people who copy, I think it's better for the community, it's better for all of us who believes in this word and who's actually working towards sustainability.
Thank you, Amitra.
Yes, I have a lot of things to say. I think we faced a similar problem because our brand, because of the designs and the fact that, we were one of the first upcyclers. I think we're still the only, at least in the intimate wear category, where we're upcycling fabrics. So there was a lot of demand, and then suddenly we were selling on 24 different sustainable platforms. Myntra reached out to us, and Myntra, the scale goes very high. So you're getting orders every day, this, that. So because the fabric that we're upcycling is actually limited. We don't have like rolls and rolls of fabric, So it is limited, and that's when for the last 2.5, 3 years since the brand is running, we have these brainstorming sessions every day because there are all these challenges that we have to face as a brand which is upcycling, So we were sitting and we were like, what do we do? I mean, we have limited fabric, we are making it in small batches. Do we source fabric from outside? So we were like, okay, so we are making products from fabrics which are in dead stock. So we can, like you said, source fabrics from other factories which are selling dead stock fabrics. So we started doing that. But the point is then, how much do we grow as a small business? How much do we grow? What is the scale at which we manufacture? And if you want to manufacture at that scale and pay the correct price to the person who's making it, the living wages, then what will we make? Because
how do you price?
How do you price
your product?
Exactly. Because when I had started the brand, I wanted to make sustainability, like the undergarment, very accessible in terms of its affordability, Because like you said actually, sustainable meant an 8,000 rupees garment which would look boring, it'll be all in beige and white and everything, and then it would just be like that. So I wanted to kind of remove that image of sustainability. You'll see our intimate wear. It's full of colors, it's bright, it's quirky printed, there are plain options also, but it's full of colors. And it's the pricing is such that a person can decide to or choose to pay that premium to you, a little bit of premium, which is kind of little higher than a regular jockey underwear would be, because they are getting something in return which will last longer, because a good fabric, a sustainable good fabric is definitely going to last longer. It's made that way, but a low quality fabric will last you, very, very less time. So then it'll push you to buy again, basically. So that's the whole agenda. So anyways, it will last longer, it will look good. But again, at the end of the day, what about scale? What about pricing? I don't think that if we increase the scale in the factory who are not doing any skilled labor. They're not doing any skilled labor. They are just helping in cutting threads, or they are helping in correcting pieces or something like that. But they are not sitting on the stitching machine, so they are not skilled. So what should I do? Again, we had this whole brainstorming session. What should we do so that we can utilize the small fabric pieces and we can also upskill the women? So that's when I started reaching out to other members of this community of textile wastage. So I reached out to Darshana. She was with I think she's still with Fashion Revolution India. I reached out to Tanushri. She was, I think, the pioneer. I mean, she had the first brand. She started 10 years ago. She started a brand called Chindi, and then so I reached out to them. She visited my factory, and she was like, yeah, let's see what to do. So somehow through some of their efforts and me reaching out to them, they got back. They got back to me and said that there is this brand. It's a toy brand. And it wants to use your factory waste. So I was like, okay, what does it want to do? So they just want to buy your factory waste. So I said, see, I don't want to sell my factory waste, I'm sorry. I want to add value to that waste. I want to sell the finished product. So they were like, okay, then can your factory make toys? I was like, you send me the samples, ask them to send me samples, and I'll see if we can make toys or not. And they sent a sample. And I was like, we need to make this, because this is the solution of these smaller fabrics. We can make small toys. And we started with a small team. We trained them, these women who were from around the factory, and they would just come for a few hours and get the training, and then they would take it back to their homes and make it. And slowly, they mastered it. And the best part of it was the skeleton of the toy was made on machine, but the final product was hand embroidered and hand stitched. It was stuffed with cotton. So it was the most beautiful chapter of upcycling that I have experienced. So they started making toys, and now it's been 1.5 to 2 years that we're working with that brand. That was when we were working as a factory. But then we were like, okay, why not we introduce toys in our brand itself? So we started selling toys, we started making our toy designs, and slowly the team increased, and now the team is of 35 women who are sustaining. A lot of these women are single mothers. A lot of these women are sustaining their homes because of the work that they do with us. So we are, in a way, we are also utilizing the waste, and now we're so that's what we did.
Thank you for sharing the story. I suppose we've totally run out of time. So if there are any quick questions, and then we can wrap up.
I'd like to share
yes, please.
Thought. So sustainability basically is an ecosystem which is an end-to-end choice. And we've spoken about a few things.
So you cannot make a responsible choice. I've been shouting over the rooftops. If Amazon sells a khadi sari for 200 rupees, and nobody questions it, and people actually believe it. I've been first-hand exposed to handloom aficionados who said that was a real thing and the 1800 rupees wasn't. Okay, so information is very important. Another thought that I'm just quickly running through the second part, which I think is very important. I've spoken to NIFT and Amity about it. So when I got married about 38 years ago, the darzi used to take 75 centimeters for a blouse. And now they want nothing less than 1.5 meters. So I keep asking them where that 75 centimeters has gone. You know, when they're cutting, the cutting.
Vibha, I can answer that. Your size must have...
No. That's my mother's blouse. It was not 80 centimeters.
No, you know me, I'm just joking.
Yeah. So, you know, that is something which earlier, you know, they used to cut it more mindfully. But now they need bigger sample, cut, and so much of wastage. So, you know, if we go back to the olden time at 80 centimeters, my mother used to take 75 centimeters, maybe 60 centimeters also. Long. Yeah, so that is it.
Okay, we're awfully over time. So thank you very much. Preeta, you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that there is something called zero-waste designing. I think you must be knowing about it, where you can check the designs and how much wastage that you're creating. So I think when we're talking about sustainable fashion, we're also going back to those days. We're upcycling
to skill,
and we are also reducing the waste.
So I want to thank Anjali for starting this conversation, but also probably as you are a trust and you're into this, you might want to do some landscape research to document these kind of problem solving, because these are things that other entrepreneurs could use, and these are small lessons that they have learned from experience, which could go into maybe a handbook or it could be online, that you could probably bring up from these conversations, because otherwise conversations keep going on. And truly, we are running out of time. We do not have time on this earth anymore to have. Maybe we have time for slow fashion, but we don't have time for slow change anymore. The change has to be fast. So, thank you very much, Amitra, Preeta, and Aloke for being here this evening. And I think we're already ready to go to the next session. So, thank you very much for being here.